Whoa, it just shut off. What happened to the band, Andy? We didn't pay him very well.
Right. They're on union break right now.
That's right. Welcome, everyone, to Friday 15 with Master B2B. My name is Brian Beck and Andy Hoare, and apparently I hit the wrong button because the fade out didn't work. Oh, my gosh, our band. Anyhow, folks, welcome to another episode of Friday 15. We got an exciting one to talk about today. A report from the field. Andy and I have been busy traveling the country, talking to a lot of different companies. But before we get into that, we're going to first talk about our breaking news. And did you see this? More bad news for Gen Z grads. Even LinkedIn CEO is saying that the future of work won't belong to people with degrees anymore. CEO Ryan Rolansky has cautioned that instead of chasing candidates with Ivy League degrees, employers will be on the hunt for AI-savvy talent with the adaptability to keep up with the new ways of working. What does this mean for my 14-year-old son, Andy?
Well, you know what? It's good news, bad news. So depends on where you stand. If you've already got one of these fancy, expensive degrees, you're probably not going to love it, that news. If you don't, you're going to think, hey, just like a social media influencer, anybody can do that, right? It's possible that anybody could do these jobs with the help of AI.
Yeah.
So that's the good news here, which is, if you're if you're a savvy person, very nimble, you don't have to have an expensive degree. And by the way, this kind of goes back in history. Back in the day, people survived without, MBAs from Harvard. People ran businesses without those degrees. We've become a credential society now as a differentiator. But if AI wipes that all clean, then maybe it wipes it all clean. We'll see.
Well, to me, it's just an adaptation of what the educational system means and can do, right? I mean, we talked a couple of weeks ago with Dr. Lisa about AI, and she was bullish on jobs. She didn't think that this is going to be a sort of a end of all new jobs. It's just going to be a change. So my 14-year-old son, who is using AI in the course of things he's doing every day now, he's got ChatGPT. He asks all kinds of questions, and I think it's a matter of using and embracing the technology and understanding how a job can change or what kind of jobs it makes available. So it's going to be fascinating to see where this all continues to develop and what the new economy looks like. But today, we want to talk about our report from the field, Master B2B Roundtables. And Andy, AI, of course, was a big topic here, amongst other things. You and I this fall have been all over the place in different markets around the country, talking to and meeting with our chapters across multiple markets. We were in Cleveland, I guess that was about a month and a half ago now, Andy. There was a great group there, and you did that one. Any notable folks or kind of comments on the venue? It looks like a beautiful venue.
Yeah, it is. It's right next to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. That's why we had the Cleveland Rocks thing there. But no, what we consistently find is that there's some folks who either don't have the budget for travel, they don't have the time because they've got kids in school, whatever, to go to big conferences on a regular basis. So when we go to them, they show up. And so we have net new people that come to these things that don't go to other things. But yeah, it was a really all three of the events I did were fantastic conversations. There's one thing that kind of jumped out at to me when they're talking about AI. First of all, the theme of this was budgeting, but it was really prioritization.
Right.
And the thing that's upending a lot of this prioritization, besides the macro economy, is the emergence of AI. And the one thing that I heard, and I'm curious what you heard about AI, is that people said, we need to do stuff that can increase efficiencies. That's the no-brainer application of AI. It isn't this broad, overarching systemic stuff where it's going to change how everybody works. So how do you define that as a proof of concept? But if you can, for example, make the salespeople more efficient, if you can make the customer service people more efficient by giving them more information, that's what I kept hearing.
Yeah, I mean, I did a roundtable recently in Minneapolis, and those of you who see the screen here see the fantastic group we had there, and it was a lot, Andy. A lot of the the practicality of AI is what came out to me. It was where people are actually using it. There was descriptions of data, descriptions of the digital experience, using AI to help with things like product recommendations and some things that we as e-commerce merchants have worked on for years. But AI being, one of those things that, it's a democratization, meaning that the folks that at the top may not necessarily know where to invest, but people at the, with their hands on the wheel are experimenting with it. They're playing with it. They're finding places that can make their jobs easier. And in some ways, almost, accelerate the stuff they were already doing. So it's really more of a tool than a threat. You were also in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where you had a great group there. And then you did one recently in Chicago also, right, Andy? I mean, across all of these different markets, I think we heard some consistent themes. And we started by asking, it was all about budget, securing your budget. And we started by, asking the questions around making the pitch, right? So, the first topic, and the way we run these roundtables is we do three rounds of discussion, and people get up and they talk at their tables and they move to a different table. Our first discussion was about making the pitch to get the investment necessary and the priorities. And when we looked at and talked about the priorities, certainly AI fell into that, but it was other things like e-commerce platform investments, PIM investments in data, investments in analytics. These were some of the top things we heard. What did you, and then making the discussion, Andy, what did you take away? What were some of the themes you heard from the audience that you were working with?
Well, one is the perennial issue around data. Everybody's got a data problem and nobody's got a good solution for it. The other thing I heard was, and this was a bit inconsistent at times, but I'd say generally the trajectory was in this one direction of there was enough money, let's say plenty of money in some cases to spend on AI. Funny
Right.
enough, not a ton of money to spend on people. So, people have characterized this as a no hire, no fire environment. So, for
Right.
now, people are not necessarily being let go, but there's not a lot of hiring taking place. And I think we're going to start seeing that in the economy as well. So, if you're going to spend $1 getting an AI project up and running, apparently there's no money to spend on the person for that, but there's a ton of money to spend on the tool for that. And I heard
Yeah.
this repeatedly.
It's interesting. I heard the same things during in the roundtables I was doing, and it was fascinating. When you look at even like, for example, remember we heard a Shopify CEO talk about this earlier in the year, where hey, you need to, if you're gonna look to do something or make a hire, you have to convince us, meaning the management, that AI can't do the job, which is interesting. So it's an AI first environment. And in fact, it was interesting when we interviewed Dr. Lisa a few weeks ago about this topic. She also said, it was, the organizations that are successfully embracing AI are actually encouraging people to use it within the organization and upskilling the people that are in the company versus hiring new people to do it. So it's more about, hey, work with AI and figure out how it can help you in your tasks and how it can become an asset for you in doing your work. So when we think about, the making the pitch piece, Andy, which is our first round, part of making the pitch is in learning, AI and how it can potentially accelerate some of the things you're looking to otherwise invest in. That's something it was very interesting. And I did hear some common themes, though, in the roundtables I did, Andy, around making the pitch, which was there has to be some kind of, real return to it. There's still the CFO is still looking for numbers and a return, an ROI calculation that shows, a benefit back to the business. There's still, questions of incrementality of things like e-commerce versus, other channels. So there's still a lot of sort of traditional thinking and process in this making the pitch process. Anything else you want to share on making the pitch?
Well, you reminded me of something, the comment somebody made in Chicago, which everybody sort of laughed about, which is this person recently purchased a software tool.
Mm-hmm.
And the CIO said, hey, what's the AI dimension to the software tool? And he said, well, there is no AI dimension because it's not relevant. He goes, are you sure? And he's like, well, why does it matter? He's like, well, because I can get that approved much more easily. Are you sure there's not some AI dimension to this? I
Right.
mean, this is where it's getting kind
Fascinating.
of weird.
Well, that's kind of the topic of the second round of our discussions at these roundtables, which was the impact of AI. And you just said it, it's really interesting. Everyone's putting AI at the end of everything to get funding, right? Which is, there's something to it. But one of the things that came out at the roundtables I facilitated, Andy, was was that, ultimately, the practitioners are looking for the solution providers to be addressing some of these AI tools. There was a whole theme. We talked a lot about e-commerce platforms, because it turns out that e-com platforms are the number one thing that our community, when we survey them, are saying they're investing in over the next year. They want to improve, enhance, or replace their existing e-com platform. And what came out in the roundtables that I talked about was, you should be asking your e-commerce platform provider, what are they doing with AI to make the whole process, everything that they deliver on, front-end digital experience, process of publishing product, merchandising and personalizing products, marketing, all the things that you have to do with your e-com platform. How are they using AI to make those things more efficient, easier, and better, and hold them accountable to telling you? Because ultimately, they're a software company, they're a technology company. Did you hear the same thing?
Well, I'm gonna laugh because we forget that these are companies too, and
Right.
they're behind the curve in terms of integrating AI in. Now
You're saying the
they
e-com
work,
platforms are?
yes,
E-com platform?
all
And
software companies are.
yeah.
I talk to these companies all the time, and what I often hear is like, "Oh, we're using Copilot." Like Microsoft Copilot? I'm like, yeah, that's what we're using for our. And I'm like, okay, well, that's pretty powerful. Or we partner with OpenAI, and we haven't really final. It's a lot of talk, but
Right.
I've already decided, and I've announced it on the show, that next year's Paradigm B2B Combine is going to be
Mhm.
different. It's going to be different in that I'm going to force these companies to tell me, how are you now an AI centric, not AI adjacent or AI
Yeah.
in name only, an AI centric platform, because everybody else is transforming around AI. What are you doing? And you can't just bolt some stuff in. Now, it is a fair argument that maybe it's not relevant everywhere, but you just named a few things. Certainly, give me a module where it doesn't really apply. Personalization, yes. PIM, yes. Shopping cart, yes. I mean, I can keep going down the list. So they need to systemically rethink their platforms. And I'm still waiting for the AI native platform to come along. Somebody in his basement who creates basically an e-commerce platform that's AI at its core. What we have is a bunch of platforms that were non-AI that are adding AI in, which,
Yeah.
it's like a hybrid car versus a pure car. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see, but for sure, the platforms are behind the curve.
Well, I'll give you one that is native. It's Amazon. I mean, I remember going back to my, to the Accelerate conference I went to back in September, and my goodness, it was all about AI. We have a whole podcast about it. And where, at the end of the day, Amazon, and I know it's not an independent platform, but they are once again setting the bar for what it means to have an AI platform. And I'm not talking about the front end with things like their Rufus tools and search tools and relevancy, but I'm also even more importantly, talking about the seller tools, like the administrative tools that sellers use on that platform to create content, to process returns, to forecast everything related to the supply chain with fulfillment by Amazon. I mean, just go across the entire workflow of working with Amazon. They're adding AI everywhere, and it's setting a precedent for the rest of the market, I think. So the last one of our rounds, Andy, was building your business case for, building your ROI case. So what was interesting here is, again, as I mentioned, a lot of these fundamentals that we've always talked about seem to remain in place. But also, and you've mentioned this, from some of the market or some of the roundtables you went to, if you got AI attached to it, in some cases, people are just sort of getting dollars and they don't know what to spend them on, right? Or sort of, do you even need an ROI case if you're talking about an AI centered investment? What are your thoughts?
Or, yes, that's true. Or you've got companies, CFOs saying, I won't make any investments unless I see a clear ROI. Well, in some cases, AI is such a change to how people operate that
Right.
we're not going to know what the actual ROI is until we execute on the proof of concept, because it's going to change how people work. It's going to
Yeah.
change the cost of things. And so that part is hard to do. And so I'm sort of the camp that it's better to do it than to do the business case around AI, because it's easy enough to do. But I heard many people say when they go to their management teams, these guys are saying things like, we want to see an ROI case, even around AOI. they'll give you the money, but they need to see the ROI. It's like, well, I don't have an
Yeah.
ROI yet because I haven't done it. So there's a bit of that trap that people are falling into. In fact, I had some people describe it as almost like a Shark Tank like circumstance within the company where,
Mm-hmm.
somebody's going to get some funding and they're all going to line up. Whoever's got the best AI story with a made up business case, which by the way, a lot of people say they're just making this stuff up
Well,
because
so
nobody knows.
what's AOI, Andy? You said AOI, is it artificial investment or artificial return? No, what's fascinating about, but let's break it down though. I mean, I'm reflecting back on the conversation we had a few weeks ago, again with Dr. Lisa, where she was talking about companies that are being successful with AI are thinking about the customer first and thinking about real use cases and breaking it down to practical use cases. So, I mean, think about, I heard cases of companies using using AI for very practical things, whether that's, a chat bot or automating certain processes within the organization, or even getting, content started. I mean, or, data normalization. I mean, there are practical steps that companies can take with AI, but the key is breaking it down to something that's actually useful, customer centric, and that customer can be internal too. It can be a traditional work process you're trying to improve. But that was her advice, was, this sort of nebulous, hey, AI as an investment is not the right approach. You got to break it down to things that are, really practical and business use case centric. So anyhow, we're just about up on our time, Andy. We need to go to some announcements. For those who have not yet heard of this awesome new service we have, it's called Master B2B Nexus. It's your personal digital lifeline. Think about this like advisory on demand. We have a group of fantastic expert advisors who are all former practitioners, as well as a huge network of experts that we have profiled that are active practitioners that we make available through this Nexus service to help you with questions very quickly. We have teams internally here at Master B2B that can help. This is a paid service. You can ask any question and get an answer quickly. We'll get you the right experts quickly and help reduce risk and help you make better decisions. Go to masterb2b.com and check out Nexus to learn more. We also have our Master B2B forum for those few folks who are not yet members. We still need a whole bunch of you to join here, guys. There's conversations you are missing out if you're not here. We have amazing level of executives here, directors, vice presidents, C-level folks, all talking about relevant topics like platforms and search and AI and hiring and org design and everything. On our forum, it's free to join if you're a practitioner. It's practitioner only. Go to masterb2b.com and check it out. And finally, I want to remind everyone that our Friday 15 is available on podcast on your favorite podcast service, Spotify, YouTube, Google, Apple, or on our own website. I encourage you to take a look and give us a review. Hey, Andy, any final words before we wrap our Friday 15?
Just one quick thing that it's not too early. We just opened up registration for the Master B2B Mindshare Summit at the University of Chicago next March. So it's March 10th in Chicago. It'll be our 4th annual, and you can go to our website and apply to attend.
4th time through. We're gonna be over 100 people this year. It's gonna be exciting. It's at the Booth School Booth School. Yes, Gleacher Center at the University of Chicago. Awesome location. Great conversations. Don't miss it, folks. Check it out. Andy, thanks for another great Friday 15 this week. Good conversation, and we'll see you on the next one.